Many of you will know, I'm sure, that rather amusing book by Dan Brown called The Da Vinci Code, and perhaps the film of Ron Howard with the same name. It gives our St. Mary Magdalene rather a strange treatment. Nothing new. She suffered from speculation, and that's all it is, for centuries. Even within the church, for centuries, we identified her with the prostitute who features in the Gospels. But even then, she was always described as Mary Magdalene, the penitent. The penitent. Penitent because she met Christ face to face, the woman of the streets, and the Son of God. We see him and her in the Gospels. Jesus being entertained by Simon the Pharisee, whose heart is as cold as his welcome. To right the wrong, along comes Mary with the bad past, her precious burden clasped to her heart, perhaps the costly payment of some lover. And the coldness of the Pharisee's welcome is warmed and shamed by the glowing fervour of her heart and eye. Her tears contrast strangely with the reserve of the respectable Pharisee. Silence orchestrated only by the sobs of a broken and contrite heart. Mary with the bad past and the Son of God. She had sinned much, but she loved much, and Christ forgave her much. She followed to the end and after, because Mary Magdalene was the first to witness the resurrection. Again, the Gospels give us this wonderful account of that moment. There she was, alone in the garden. Even his dear body was gone. How could she pray with a broken heart? They've taken away my Lord. And then, that magical moment when Jesus speaks her name, Mary, it was his voice. And overwhelmed, she falls at his feet in adoration. She wants to stay and be alone with him, drinking deep of the grateful springs that well from her heart. But Jesus draws away. He says, "Touch me not, don't cling to me, but go and say to my brothers, I'm ascending to my God and your God." Yes, Mary Magdalene had a bad past. But don't we all? Some big things to live down in our past, some small things. But they are there, and we'd much rather that they weren't. God knows all about the sins that we hide from the world, and even from those we love the most. Perhaps we think they're respectable sins, more respectable than Mary Magdalene's, who says they are, because Christ didn't. At times, perhaps when you made your first communion, when you came to be confirmed, on your wedding day or some anniversary, perhaps you felt that your past was really behind you. You really did intend to follow Christ and follow a different path. And then, well, 2,000 years ago, they all forsook and fled. So perhaps have we. So have we all. But what brought us back? A person? Your conscience? A friend? And then religion gets difficult again. I used to pray. I don't now. They've taken away my Lord, and I don't know where they've put him. And perhaps quite unexpectedly, the voice speaks to you again and calls you by your name, calls you back, encourages you to try once again. Don't cling to me, is what Jesus said to Mary Magdalene. But to you and me, it's different. To you and me, Jesus says, take this, all of you, and eat it. This is my body, which is given up for you. This is my blood, which is poured out for you and for many, so that sins may be forgiven. To Mary Magdalene, the Lord said, go and say to my brothers, I'm ascending to my God and your God. Who's he talking to now? He's talking to every one of us with a bad past whom he's forgiven. Every one of us who has learnt to love him a little. He says, go, do this. It would be a lot easier, wouldn't it, if he sent us on some great dramatic mission. After all, St. Patrick went to Ireland, St. Columba to Scotland, St. Boniface to Germany, St. Augustine came to England. St. Paul careered all over the place. To begin with Paul, and I imagine all the others, Paul had to begin just where they were, in the place where they had come from where they were only too well known. That's where they'd made fools of themselves. That's where they began. And only after there would they go on further. And that's where we start too. Can you talk about Jesus Christ to the people at home, in the office, in school, in the shops and the streets? Some these days hardly know his name, except when someone swears. Will you tell them that Jesus Christ is alive, ascended, and has the power to rescue and to save? It's not the easiest thing to do, of course, but once you've begun, the results can be tremendous, incredible. We're hearing a lot at the moment about World War I, as it's coming up to the 100th anniversary of the end of that terrible, terrible war. There was an interview on the radio where the interviewer asked a Chelsea pensioner, is there one special thing you'd like to do before you die? And there was a long pause, and then this shaky old voice said, yes, I would like to win one soul for Jesus Christ.